can we learn about music theory from just one string? Actually, quite a lot, because the strings are all basically the same. And really knowing how one string works goes a long way towards understanding the fretboard. Hey, it's Matt. A lot of the complexity of music theory comes from all the different keys and spellings. Instead of worrying about note names, we're going to use an abstract major scale as our model, and we're just going to call the scale degrees by numbers, 1 through 7. For this, I'm just going to use the one high E string to attempt to illustrate everything. And so let's just start with the open string note. And yes, it's an E, but let's just think of it as being 1, or the first note of a scale. The first thing about strings and theory is octave equivalence. Basically, if we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do and do are considered harmonically equivalent. On a string, if we play the open note, and then if we find the exact middle of the string and stop it there, we get a note with double the frequency and hear it as the same pitch an octave higher. And we find that the precise middle of the string is exactly the 12th fret. If we took that part and divided it in half again, we'd land where the 24th fret is or would be, the same pitch another octave higher. The archetypal scale that we use in music theory to compare and contrast everything else with is the major scale. And on one string, we can easily see and hear the relationships between the notes of the scale. We'll start on the open string, which is scale degree 1, and then we'll get back to scale degree 1 on the 12th fret. And in between, we have a series of steps, and they are either whole steps or half steps. The pattern is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And the pattern repeats every 12 frets. We've been starting on the open string and counting from there. But what if we decided that a different note was 1? Let's say the 3rd fret, which we could say is G, so G major, but let's leave that for another day and just think of it as scale degree 1. And so this 3rd fret note is 1. If we divide this part of the string in half, we'd find the 15th fret, which is 12 frets higher than we started. And so again, the whole pattern repeats every 12 frets, and we just need to count whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half to get the notes of the scale. We want to be able to understand any major scale starting on any fret. And for purely understanding the fretboard and theory, it can help a lot to keep everything within the one octave. And so one good way to systematically do that is by using what I like to call warp zones. Because of octave equivalence, whenever we get to or cross the 12th fret, we could just warp zone back down an octave to the open string and keep going from there. So if we have our root on the 3rd fret, we can do it like... And then by all means, you can extend the pattern up past the 12th fret. But I think it's a good way to get to know the guitar, to stay in the 12 frets and then think of it repeating. And so we can practice by just starting on any note and then counting up and down the pattern of steps while staying in the first 12 frets by using the warp zone method. Always keep using your ears to make sure that you're staying on track. Here are a few examples, and you should puzzle through starting on any or every fret from open to the 11th. And then just to be systematic, I'm going to always warp zone when I would play the 12th fret back to open. Or if the next note was going to be the 13th fret, I'll warp zone back to the 1st. let's take a look at how chords work on single strings, which might seem a little strange because it's true, we can't really play a chord on a single string. But we can still use strings to visualize the relationships between the notes in the chord by playing arpeggios, which just means the notes of a chord, but in a row instead of at once. To find the simple triads in a key, we usually just have this pattern of every second note. And so if we start on 1, we get scale degrees 1, 3, and 5. I think the very clearest way to understand is with open root. And so we get this open 4, 7 arpeggio, and that's a major triad. We have a root, a major third, which is 2 whole steps or 4 frets, and then a perfect fifth. And we can get more into intervals another day, but for now, we see it's a major chord and it's built on scale degrees 1, 3, and 5. Just to illustrate, for a moment we'll use real note names. If we play open 4 and 7, we get E, G sharp, and B. If we look at any other E chord we might know and go through and identify the notes, we'll see they are all made of these same 3 notes. So in music theory, it's really the fact that it is those exact notes that makes it an E chord. So then what's a minor chord? Well, just to compare directly, if we started on the same note, the difference is the minor chord has a minor third, which is 1 fret smaller than major. I'm just going to stick to basic triads for this tutorial, but if you're interested in learning a little bit more about how exciting chords work, I have a video about that and the link is in the description. So we can have a major third, which is 4 frets, or a minor third, which is 3, and then our perfect fifth is 7 frets. Let's see what chords we can get if we build on each note of the scale. We'll start on the open string root, and on scale degree 1, we've already discovered that we can build a major triad. If we start on scale degree 2, we find scale degrees 2, 4, and 6, and we get a minor arpeggio and chord. Now in abstract form, we can just say that the chord built on scale degree 1 is a 1 chord. And to show it's a chord or harmony and not just a note, we use a Roman numeral. And it's uppercase because it's major. For the 2 chord, we use lowercase to show that it's minor. Starting on scale degree 3, we get the pattern for a minor chord again. For the 4 chord, we find a major triad. And for the arpeggios, I'm just going to skip using the warp zone for now, because we don't really need to, and it might make it a little easier to visualize. But you can do these with warp zones as well. And we'll see that more in the next video in this series, where we'll check out minor scales and the modes on single strings. 5, we get major. And 6 is minor. 7 is a little strange because we get a minor third, but then the 5th is also 1 fret smaller. And so this is what we call a diminished chord arpeggio. And we write it lowercase and with a little circle to mean diminished. And so every major scale has the same pattern of steps and the same pattern of triads built on them. And so let's take a second to review what we've seen so far. Every scale can be thought of in terms of scale degree numbers, and they follow the same pattern of steps. There are always 2 half steps between scale degrees 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. And then on those degrees, we can build triads. And so in every major key, we get the same pattern of major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. We can use single strings to help visualize and understand many theory concepts. And so I hope this has given you some ideas. If you'd like to see a little more about how single strings can help us understand the fretboard, then you could watch this.